All right, welcome to Ask the Mayor. Mayor Cottle will be answering our questions that were submitted before last Friday. If you would like to submit a question for our next Ask the Mayor, which will be July 25th, same time, same place, go to the West Fork Library website, westforklibrary.com. And as always, we'll be posting this video to YouTube afterwards. So welcome. We've got a few follow-up questions, so we're going to start with those ones today.
Perfect.
All right. Should the farmers market be moved to Riverside Park so that there are bathrooms available?
So great question. And I think, this is a follow-up from, I think, last month when we talked about being able to utilize the bathrooms at the court building. And I said that just wasn't going to be an option. So should it be moved? That's outside of my control. The farmers market is its own entity. And so I think that's a question for the organizers of the farmers market to come up with. Maybe it's a good topic to be discussed. I certainly don't have any reservations against the farmers market being moved. I think it was intentionally decided to be there to take advantage of the passenger train that goes by on Saturday mornings, and it's obviously a pretty spot to have the farmers market. It works out well. So again, I don't want to get into should or should it not be, but I would say that this is a question for that organization, the farmers market, to take up and maybe have a discussion about. But I don't have an opinion one way or the other on that.
All right, paving. When we contract with someone for major changes for sewer or other utilities, why don't we require them to return the roads to the same or better condition as part of the contract?
And on this one, it's a good question. I'm not sure what it's in relation to. So typically, yes, when we have contractors come in and do some sort of major improvements, that is part of that contract for the roads or whatever it is that they are coming in contact with to be brought back to the same or better condition. I wonder if maybe this is in relation to the White Street sewer replacement that we did. That is a project that we did in-house, and so we did not have a contractor on that. That's a project where we are anticipating using some of those state paving aid dollars that I talked about in a couple prior Ask the Mayors. That's a project where the intention is to use those dollars to repave White Street. That's still the idea. We got onto the sewer project a little sooner than what we've received the state paving dollars. So we talked about this a little bit in the past council meeting. Someone brought this up in the public discussion section of the council meeting, and that's a project that did not turn out well. The city is not, we don't do road paving. And so that was a project that we tried to do some road paving on after we did the sewer project. We certainly could have done a better job if we had access to different equipment and different things, but we made the best of an effort. We tried something new with our current staff and our resources. And that road's still rough. It is. A lot of the folks on White Street have complained about the speed, and so maybe if it's a little rougher, maybe people have slowed down, maybe they haven't. That's not why we did it. I'm not suggesting that, but White Street is a road that needs to have that improved and get that smoothed out. We know that. We're aware of it. We do have plans to do so. But as far as contractors, when contractors come in, that is part of the bid for them to redo the streets. I think if some of you remembered the project we did in West Fork Acres a few years ago with the sewer replacement down there, the contractor did come in and repave a lot of that, and they actually came back and fixed, I called them inverted speed bumps. So where they'd cut across the street, we had some dips there. Instead of a speed hump, it was a speed dip. But we had them come back in and do some concrete work to fix those issues. But that's typically part of the contract.
All right. So we've got a kind of a nice transition into transportation questions from there. So our first transportation question is anyone going to fix the bumps and holes on the dirt roads throughout West Fork?
So again, this is context. I don't have a lot of context on this question. we don't have many dirt roads inside the city limits. We have actively put together. So several years ago, we sat down and we said, you know what, we're going to dedicate a certain amount of funds to the roads each year inside of our city budget. So in the past, West Fork didn't have a street budget. It was just kind of a hit or miss thing. And so we do have a dedicated street budget now that we allocate dollars to within the budget for each year. And we also created a matrix of how do we decide where we're going to spend those dollars for street improvements or upgrades, paving, whatever it is. So I know that we've definitely talked about we do have a few short dirt roads within the city limits. I think we paved one of those a couple years ago. But we don't actively go out and address the dirt roads in West Fork. So if you live on one of those dirt roads that's within the city limits, feel free to reach out to the city and ask them to come and do some work on that. And we'll go up there and do what we can, for sure. So let us know specifically where you're at and what you're talking about. And we'll try to get some work done on those to get them smoothed up a little bit.
All right. So our next question is, are there plans to make West Fork more bicycle friendly?
So this is a great question. And again, context, I'm not sure what is more bicycle friendly. Is it dedicating bicycle lanes on the streets, as some of the neighboring cities have been able to do? If that's the case, if that's the question, West Fork doesn't actively have a plan to create bike lanes, and I think everyone would agree that a lot of our city streets are barely wide enough for traffic, so we certainly don't have that additional space to create bike lanes. So if that's what you're going for, if that's where you're asking on the question, no, we don't have any active plans to do that. We are participating with talks about the Greenway, and we would love to see that come to West Fork. We have intentionally, in our request to replace the bridge over the White River there on 170, we intentionally designed that so that it would fit with the Greenway when the Greenway gets to West Fork. So are we aware that we need to increase our bicycle friendliness? Yes. Do we feel like we have an opportunity to create bike lanes throughout West Fork? No, we don't feel like we can do that. So I hope that answers the question. I don't feel like it does, but if you have more questions, more specified questions concerning this, please feel free to reach out and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I will mention with this question though that when I set up the dedicated budget line item for streets, we also dedicated a certain amount of money to sidewalks, and we have been very active. And somebody asked me how many miles or how many feet of sidewalks have we added. I don't have the answer to that. I wish I did, but I think you'll notice that in the past several years we've done a really good job of connectivity within our sidewalks. West Fork had a lot of sidewalks to nowhere, and we've been very active in trying to fill in those gaps. We did one on McKnight Street several years ago. We've just finished recently one on Main Street. From Doak Street to the city park, there was no sidewalk, and so we've got that in. We've added sidewalk on Pleasant Street, so we've done a lot of sidewalk work out of that dedicated budget. Again, that's not necessarily bicycle friendly, but trying to be more pedestrian friendly. We worked out a deal with the railroad to get some crossings at the railroad tracks where people weren't having to step over the tracks. It was a nice smooth transition with the sidewalk through the track. So are we working in that direction? Yes. Again, I don't feel like we're in a position where at this time we can add bike lanes. Maybe as we grow and we see some street improvements, yes, that would be a spot where we start looking at adding bike lanes.
All right. And what can you tell us about the regional blueway that might be going from Brentwood to Goshen, and how might this affect Riverside Park and the West Fork community?
This is a great question. And this is a really cool project. I'm anxious to see it continue to move forward. This is a slow project, and it's going to continue to be a slow project. There's a couple of groups that are working with some federal funding to make this happen. the Arkansas Game and Fish is on board with this program, and I know that there are plans to make the first access point at Dye Creek Road at West Fork, and I'm excited about this. The Game and Fish has talked about putting in like a canoe or kayak ramp there and a parking area. I think many of you know that West Fork owns a portion of land on the north side of Dye Creek right there, and so that's where that put in ramp would go. West Fork is we are actively thinking of ways to utilize that land that we have on the north side of Dye Creek right there. And, some things that Chad and I have talked about are, potentially a soft surface bike trail within there, or soft surface walking trails, different things like that. But yeah, the blueway is an interesting project. There's still a lot of work to be done on that. Again, there's several groups that are utilizing federal dollars to, one, get that river to where it can be navigable. Especially if we're talking from Brentwood to West Fork, not a lot of water, not a lot of current, I should say, throughout a lot of the year. I actually floated part of that when I was a kid from Woolsey down to West Fork. But there was a lot of dragging involved, right? So part of that is the work that they're actually doing on the river to shore up some of the earthen banks throughout that area. They're trying to reduce some silting and different things that are getting into Beaver Lake, but also they are creating a little bit more of a water channel, trying to keep a flow instead of all the non-flowing pools that are along the river here. So yeah, we don't have a lot of flow. But it's an interesting project, and I'm anxious to see that come to more fruition as they continue that work. And I don't have any kind of timelines on it, but it's exciting to know that it's in the works.
All right. Okay. So we go into a couple of other questions. Can you make it easier for teenagers to get jobs in West Fork?
This is a great question. It's a very large question. How do we make it easier for teenagers to get jobs in West Fork? And I think the way that we do that from the city's perspective, the only way we can do that is to encourage development and growth within West Fork. So when we think about job potential in West Fork, there's not a lot of potential for teenagers. We don't have a ton of businesses in West Fork for them to go get a job. And so I will let you know that yes, I'm interested in this. I'm focused on not only teenagers, but adults having jobs in West Fork, instead of having to, travel to Fayetteville or Springdale or wherever they're working. So I think the way we do this is we make development easier, and we encourage development. We encourage growth in West Fork. And to some degree, this topic gets into a chicken or egg discussion. What comes first? Is it population? Is it population growth that creates the need for, or creates the opportunity for more businesses to locate in West Fork? Or is it more businesses locate in West Fork and therefore our population grows? And I don't have the answer to that. I think we see most typically we see as population grows, so do business opportunity. And I will tell you that it's more, let's see. How do I want to put this? I feel like it is easier, it is more encouraged than ever to develop in West Fork than it ever has been. We did a rewrite of Title 14 of our zoning ordinance, and through that rewrite, we've added a multitude of different encouragements. We've taken some of the red tape away from developing in West Fork. So we've definitely made ourselves a more developable city. We're more attractive to developers in the work that we've done, and my hope is that we will see that more quickly than more recent than later. That we get some of that business activity in West Fork, and that's something that's very important to me. We can look at some of the growth that's happened in the region around us, and some cities are really struggling because they only grew in housing projects, and they did not see the growth in businesses. come with those housing projects. So that's a concern for us. It's something that we're definitely aware of. But as far as West Fork, we can't. West Fork doesn't put in businesses, right? We encourage them to come, but that's really our biggest play in this topic is the encouragement, making it easier for someone to develop in West Fork. And so, yes, we're actively aware that we want this and seeking ways to encourage it and speed it up.
All right. So final question. Do we have tornado warning sirens in West Fork?
Okay. No, we do not have tornado warning signs in West Fork. In the past, I know that we used to have an old siren when I was a kid. We used to have a siren there at the fire department. That thing, I think it's set up there broken, possibly longer than it's set up there in working condition. But no, we don't have tornado warning sirens in West Fork. A few years ago, there was a question about this. Why don't we? Can we get them? And we looked into it and found that they were too expensive for us to be able to afford one. And I haven't went back and looked at my notes on this, but I want to say it was close to $500,000 to get one siren. And then there was, the discussion of how effective are they? What's their range? What's their ability to actually notify, especially in our geography here in the valley with the hills and stuff. So no, we don't have one. We're not currently looking for one. And some of that, and this certainly isn't an excuse, but I think the last tornado I remember in West Fork, I think I was in middle school. So we don't have an active amount of tornadoes actually touching down in the city. That's not to say one couldn't touch down today. So don't take me wrong there. And, we just had the tornado in Greenland. I will tell you that we had 3 departments that were in Greenland that entire night assisting Greenland personnel. So police and fire and public works, all 3 of those departments had personnel up there throughout the night assisting. So that did prompt new discussions in West Fork about our disaster preparedness plan. And so, we're taking some things. I know I've talked to TJ, the fire chief. I've talked to the police chief about takeaway items from that night, things that didn't go well that West Fork can prepare for to make sure if we did have something like that we would be better prepared. And so that's an ongoing discussion currently. And it's one of those things. It's definitely an issue. It's something that's scary. How can we best warn citizens? I just don't know that tornado sirens for a city the size of West Fork are. I don't know that that's the best use of our resource or our resources. So no, we don't have them, and we currently don't have plans to add those.
All right. Well, that's all the questions for today. So we will see you on July 25th. If you have questions or follow-up questions, please either message the library or go to our website. We'll have those links in the video and also on our YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time. Bye.